Welcome back. From the previous video, we got some basic understanding of what is customer communication management and what is Oracle Documaker, specifically Documaker Studio. Okay, so in this video, we will cover some more details on Documaker Studio. Right. So Documaker Studio is a multi-user form creation or a content management system, right? Or in other words, I can say like it's a standalone application which can be installed in a system for designing and configuring the template creation and document composition. Okay, so when we talk about this documents created can be simple static or complex dynamic documents. Okay, so dynamic document in the sense like you will be adding multiple fields while you are designing the document, and based on the input that you are giving to the Documaker Studio, the output will be displayed accordingly. So that is what dynamic document. And even like the table structure, transaction details, all those things, based on the number of transactions that happen for a particular customer, the table will grow. So all those things comes under dynamic uh, document applications. Okay, so it has Documaker has an inbuilt library structure with check-in and check-out functionality for the components created inside the studio. So for example, like when you are creating a component, when you are creating something inside Documaker, in order to save it, you need to check into the library. Okay, when you check in, and later if you come and make some changes to the same component, you need to check out and then check in back to save your changes. So when you do check in and check out, it will create a version for you, version for the comment, that particular comment that you created. Okay, so moving to the next slide, we'll talking about some key features and benefits of using Documaker Studio. It's a seamless workbench, meaning a multiple user can work in a single environment by creating their own user ID. Okay, so example, in a company there could be multiple different categories of users, maybe admin, developer, tester. Okay, so based on the categories, we can set up the control of the system in a different ways. Admin will have full access, developer will have only development related access, like editing the components and the things, and where tester will not be able to edit anything, but he can view the contents, something like that. Just an example here. Okay, and when we talk about the editing forms or section, like any other text editor or Microsoft Word, you will see a lot of editing options, right? For whether it can be fonts, color, size, or adding bulletins, and then paragraph styles. Whatever you see in Microsoft Word or any other text editor, everything is there inside Documaker Studio. You don't need any external editor to edit the content. You can do everything inside Documaker Studio itself. Okay, and talking about the configuring INI options. Okay, it's an initialization file, or in or INI files that can be utilized for various external configuration and settings, which can be globally or specific to user. Okay, so so there are few scenarios or few configuration where you will be setting something inside Documaker Studio, but other configuration like system level configurations, or what kind of output that you need to produce, whether it is PDF or AFP, and which is your output location, and which location you need to store the I mean, from which location you are getting the input. All these kind of details you need to configure somewhere. That is where INI files comes in. Okay, so you have to set that up in your Documaker setup. Okay, all right. So and moving on, there could be like requirement where you are not able to achieve your desired result using some predefined functions or pre-built inbuilt rules inside Documaker Studio. During that time, what you can do, you can write coding. Okay, so the coding, Documaker provides a scripting area where you can write program. The program is called DAL scripts, document automation language in Documaker Studio. So that is another features that Documaker has. And then Documaker has a nice visual debugger to identify the cause of the issue during the runtime, and you have import wizard and version control when it comes with the library structure. Okay, so let's take an example here. Let's you, in your company, maybe you'll be having development region and staging region and prod region. Okay, so as a developer, we do the coding in development area, development region, and we will be creating multiple versions to make sure that we are achieving our desired results. So we'll be creating multiple components for the same components, multiple versions, I mean. Okay, so during this time, I mean, once you done with the development, once you finalized your final component, you will be exporting that in your from your dev region, and you will be importing to your stage region, and then prod region. Okay, once you tested in stage, you will be importing to prod region. Okay, so this export and import of components using this import wizard is very useful in Documaker Studio from a library standpoint. And then as we know, like when we do check in and check out in the library, you have different versions created. So who created it, what is the date, when the date is created, and history of those, everything will be there in the library version control features. Okay, so moving on. So I've been talking like many times, like components we are creating components. So what are those components is actually, right? So these are some major components I have listed here. Okay, starting with the section, forms, triggers, form list, paragraph, and paragraph list. Okay, so these components are combined together to form to create a document. Okay, combined together to create a document in the sense, like I'll go here like this. When you create first time, when you open Documaker Studio, you will be creating section. Section is the key part here, where key entity that hold the content. Okay, so if you want to place something on your document, or if you want to create something, some document from Documaker Studio, you will be creating a section, and the section will hold the content of that document that you are creating. Okay, so and then these section will be added to forms. That forms will have multiple section, and forms will be added to form list. Okay, and then wherever you need, based on the logic, based on the conditions, a particular section needs to be triggered, you will be setting up trigger. And paragraph and paragraph list is pretty much same like section. The point is like you will be adding the content in paragraph, and the paragraph will be added to paragraph list, but eventually it has to add the section to add it to forms. Okay, so to give more understanding on these, let me pull up a image here, to make you understand things easily. Okay, so this image, I consider this as created from a Documaker a studio. Okay, you can say this is a PDF. Okay, I'm just showing as an image, but consider this as a PDF that was created from a Documaker Studio. Okay, so here you see, like I have highlighted in red block, kind of block. So this is kind of a section. Okay, in when we talk about section in Documaker Studio, like all these are different sections. So I have a section here which has logo, and then after there is a section which is talking about address part, and then there is a section for body part, and there is some more section for many other things. Okay, so the idea is like why we can create the entire form in one single section, but the point is like why are we creating multiple blocks, multiple section in Documaker terms. Okay, so the reason would be like, say here we have one logo. That logo, if you are working for a company, maybe if you are working for an insurance company, in this scenario, like I am working for IVIA insurance company, so I might be using this section many places in many other requirement as well. So I don't want to repeat the same step again by creating another form to have the logo in that section is that form. Okay, so what I will do, I will create this as a separate section, and wherever I need, like Aviva logo, that's the name of the section, I will place it. And whenever I need to use that logo, I will just use it. Or in some cases I want to reduce the size of it, maybe I will edit it and save us a new section. Okay, to make sure that is used in somewhere else. Okay, so the reusability purpose, we are getting multiple section. And another thing is like when you add the section to this form, you will be adding the all the sections combined together to form a form. So all these are different section, and this is a complete form. Like this, there could be multiple other form or pages that will create a form list. Okay, so I hope that got some understanding here. So triggering, when we talk about triggering, I told like we need to set up some triggering logic for some sections or forms, even forms. So for that scenario, like let's take this as an example here. This block, let's say this block needs to be displayed only on a certain scenario. Okay, so your input says at a particular position, like it says like xyz, or we'll take as an example. Okay, this your input as Washington as a state. Okay, in your input file you have a Washington as a state. That time only you need to display. For rest of the states you should not display this. In this area will be blank. Okay, so in this scenario you will be writing a logic behind it, saying that whenever the input at this position says Washington, I'll be displaying this. Okay, that's the logic that we are talking about. Okay, that is what triggering is. Okay, so you set the trigger, and trigger can be done in multiple ways. Either you can use the predefined rules functions in Documaker Studio, or you can write a Dal script and assign the trigger to this particular section. So that's about trigger. Okay, so coming back to our slide. So we talked about the components. So how these components are managed in Documaker Studio, and what is that hierarchy? That is what we are going to see in the next slide. Okay, so from a hierarchy standpoint, I told like we'll be creating section, and then the section will be added to forms, and the forms will be added to groups. In groups or form list. Okay, form list are also called as groups. Okay, and the group will be added to BDF. So we didn't talk about BDF. BDF is nothing but business definition file, which is your key triggering point. What I mean by that, like here all rest of the places you will be having triggers to trigger, but here you will be setting some key one and key two information. Okay, which will be added in your configuration file. So we will look deep into this PDF file later in the course, but consider there is a file at this point. Just make sure there is one more layer above group. Okay, so we'll go further in the course. We'll learn what is BDF, all those things. Okay, so so here when we talk about section, obviously we'll be having a lot of these things like font styles, paragraph list, or even text area, all those things. So whatever you are adding, the content part. Okay, the content part will go here, and then once your content is ready, your sections are ready. There could be multiple sections, like in the image, like we have created 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 6 sections we have created. Once these 6 sections are created, all you need to will be creating a form, and you'll be adding, like I'll be adding an logo in the header and some footer in the footer area, and then body I'll be adding few sections. So that's how you are going to add, right? So now the form is ready. Like this, there could be multiple forms you need to add. So you will be adding that to the form list, and then the it will be added to the BDF file. Okay, BDF in the hierarchy. Okay, so wherever you see, you will be having triggering point. You can add the triggers whenever required in any of these area. Okay, say the BDF will be after BDF there will be multiple form list in any production or any systems. There will be multiple form list based on business scenario. You'll be created multiple form list. Okay, so to make it to arrange things easily, you are segregated the form requirement, and you created different form list for different reasons. Okay, so you need to set the trigger accordingly. Say for example, there is two form list A and form list B. Okay, so when the input as input that you are passing as A in the input, then form list A should be triggered, and if it is B, then B should be triggered. Okay, that is one thing. And under form list A there could be multiple forms. Under form list B there could be multiple forms. Okay, so let's say like form list A as forms like forms 1 2 3. Okay, something like that. So here in this case, on a particular location in the input file, it says like in first place it says like a, and in another location it says like 1. Okay, so the combination, first form list a, and in the form list a you need to trigger form a, okay, form 1. Okay, so a1 needs to be triggered. Okay, so same way, like there could be multiple section inside forms, and that section may be triggered based on the logic, whatever sections you whatever logic that you written behind each section, that will be triggered accordingly to create this complete document. Okay, so I think I put some understanding of about what is the hierarchy, all those things. So we are creating multiple components and we need to store it somewhere. That we talked about the library. The library is nothing but the MRL. Okay, master resource library. Okay, so there are two flavors of storing the content or the components inside Documaker. One will be using using the database. Okay, so you connect the database, and then whenever you create the component, you'll be stored it to the database. Okay, the other way will be a CB5 format, which is it will be creating a LBY a library extension file in your drive, in your local drive. That's what we are going to see in this course. We are not showing how document stored in the component stored in the database part, because I'm not having any connection right now, but we'll be covering like how the database will be connected, all those things. Okay, that will be covered, but I'll be showcasing like how the CB5 file is created, and how that is where it is stored. Okay, so it basically it's an extension file. Whenever create a component, it will keep adding those in the in that file, and it will be stored. It will be stored in .lbi format. Okay, so we'll see that everything in detail. So don't worry if you get lost here. Okay, so that's about the hierarchy. Moving on, so we talked about BDF file a little, but here is the information that I am providing. So BDF is nothing but business definition file. It contains key 1 and key 2. So here is an example. Okay, here is an example. There is a company, MetLife, and it has a line of business like annuity. Like that, there could be another line of business like PNC. Okay, so there could be multiple line of business. For every line of business, the input file that we are getting from upstream may be different. Okay, so if the policy admin system, I'm talking from a instance standpoint mostly, because I worked in from a instance background, but in some cases I'll be using some other domain as well, but mostly into instance terminologies. Okay, so you have an input file that is defined for annuity LOBs. So that input will be having at a particular point, it says like this particular key, and this is the company. You need to set it up in your configuration of your input file accordingly. So whenever there is this combination happens, key 1 and key 2 combination, that particular BDF will be triggered. Okay, BDF will be triggered, and this configuration you are not going to set it inside the Documaker Studio. You will be setting outside the Documaker Studio in the INI files. Okay, we will be taking that in the later session, but just keep in mind there is a BDF file, and you need to set up key 1 and key 2. Key 1 is nothing but company, and key 2 is nothing but line of business. Okay, at this point. Okay, moving on. Group. Now under a BDF file, you will be adding the group or form list. The extension, when you create Documaker in Documaker Studio, when you create a form list, the extension will be .grp. Okay, so it is just like collections of forms. So when you create forms, you will be adding to the forms, and this form, all these forms combined together to form a group, and that group can be called as form list or group. Okay, so and you can obviously you can set trigger for forms, each forms, for like we discussed about form A, form B, and having set trigger that form A should be triggered only on these conditions, form B should be triggered only on these conditions. So all those things. So that is what we are talking about, a group. And moving on, we are talking about forms, it's as simple as the same above. Here we will be collection of image file. So in some places I'll be using image file, it's nothing but section file. Okay, section and image in Documaker terms, they will call it as image file. Okay, so when I talked about section, it could be image file as well. Okay, so I mean, when I talk about image file, sometime it will be section, so don't get confused on that. So form dot for will be saved as dot for, and then it is collection of sections. You create multiple section, you add to the form, and that form will be added to form list. Okay, it's again the same thing that we are talking about, and that's here also you'll have multiple triggering conditions wherever you record for the images. Okay, moving on. So the section, so this is section is the, we already told, I have already mentioned about the it all the content. Okay, whatever you create that content. So say for example, if you are creating the section for this blog, like this itself, so all this text that we are showing highlighted in here, you need to copy and paste it to the section. So that's what we are talking about. Okay, so it will be stored as .fap, and sometime we will call it as fab file, and sometime we will call it as image file, and sometime we'll call it as section. So all are same, so don't worry about it. You just understand the how what this section is all about. Okay, so here you can create text area, label, variable field, logo, images, etc. So these are the things that used to display the information. So if I want to display this particular image, sorry, this particular text, I will be adding a text area, and then I will copy paste it. And if I want to if you want to display some value based on some value that is coming from input file, then I'll be using variable field. And if I want to display any image like this, then I need to use logo. Okay, logo images. Moving on. So we'll talk little more about section creation or the image creation. Okay, so you see this is complete form on the this block. This has it's a complete created. So how it is created basically. Okay, that's what we are seeing in a pictorial, in a pictorial manner. Okay, pictorial manner. So so we'll be having some static and variable field, we'll be having logo, text areas, lines, etc., and then page and image properties. All this we'll be doing multiple steps to create something like this. So that's what I'm trying to put in this picture. Okay, so you have a company name, and there is a logo, and there is a body of the letter, and then there is some more text here, and there is a bulletin point. So all these things, there could be multiple variable fields, like the year insurance is there. So in place of insurance, there could be names will be coming, the customer name will be coming here. So all those things you will be defined to form a section, or the all these section will be added to the form. Okay, just a pictorial representation here, that's it. We already talked about in details, right? So moving on, I talked about creating fields. Okay, the field can be two types: static field or dynamic field. Okay, so static field is nothing but hard coded text. Okay, so in place of static field, I mean in terms of static field, yeah, either you can use a text area or text label, and you just copy paste the content. Okay, so say for example, if I want to copy this and add it to my section, I just copy this content and put it in a text area. That's all, that's end of it. Okay, but when it comes to dynamic field, you need to create a field which is you need to insert a field that is a icon in your studio. You need to insert that field, and then you need to set some property, and you need to set the offset, like from which location you need to pull the data from the input file. So populate the data from the input file within text area. The property of the variable field is hidden. Okay, which means we'll see that in later when we do the practical, but you got the idea. Like if you want to display something from the input file itself, then you need to use a dynamic field. Okay, and if you are just copy paste the content from and the content will not change in any time, then that will be in static field, like text area, text label. Okay, moving on. So when we talked about field, okay, so the field, when you create a field, I'm just talking about the dynamic field. You are getting some information from the input file, and then you are displaying in the you need to display it. So there could be some rules. The rules are nothing but some functions that are predefined inside Documaker Studio. Okay, so just an example here, there are few functions. There are n number of functions are there, but I just listed few of them. Let's say like move it and printf and date format. Okay, move it is something you move it is mostly used and widely used in terms of document development. The first thing we will do, like you are moving the data from input and to a location in your document. Okay, you place your field in one location in your when you design, and you map the data which is coming from your input. So it will just move the content from your input file to your in your document that you are creating. Okay, and when you create the output, whatever you see in the input file, that will be displayed in the output file. So here in this case, here takes an example here. The input file will have insurance name, the customer name. So here in place of insurer, you just add a field, and then you using move it function. What you can do, you will map which location of your input file as insured name or the customer name. Okay, so you map it, and whenever you run it, you will get dynamically, you will the name changes based on the customers how many based on the customer records. Okay, all right, so that's the move it. And printf is another function that you can utilize to instead of going for a dal script, or instead of going writing the program in a dal script, you can use small functions like this. Okay, this will reduce your runtime. Okay, so printf is something like, if something coming from input, okay, let's say like at a particular location, the input says like m, so you need to display, if the in this location, if m is coming, I need to display it as male. Okay, if it is f, I need to display it as female. So male and female based on some particular character from the input file. So if it is m, male; if it is f, it is female. So that is printf. Okay, just keep it simple. And then there is a date format. So this is to display date in different formats. Okay, so there could be multiple div formats, like whether it can be mmddyy or ddmmyy, things like that. So these are some predefined functions or rules, I can say, in Documaker. You can make utilize of it. And whatever you are creating these, I mean whatever you are seeing here, it's an example, but you will be having a number of rules. Okay, so I will be sharing the documents later in the course, or after the end of the course, the user guides, all those things. So you can go through it on those, but I'll be showing some examples during hands-on as well. And whatever the rules that we are talking about here, okay, so that can be achieved by writing code in the scripting area also. But point is like, why we need to do writing a script if there is a function, predefined function is already placed. So that will reduce your runtime. So it will not take much time when you are running something run during production run or anything. It will save your time. Okay, that's the point, and it will increase the performance as well. Okay, so moving on. So in terms of when section, so here also we mentioned as image. Okay, it's nothing but section. So when you're creating section, you need to set up some properties. Those are some properties you need to set up. Few of them are like position, recipient rules. Okay, rules we already talked about. And the recipient, yeah, let's take this image. Coming back to the image, we'll talk about the recipients. Okay, so there let's take an insurance again as an example. There could be owner of the insurer and the agent of the insurance. Okay, so when this block, okay, this particular block, I should not send it to agent. Okay, I should not send it to agent copy, and it should be only in customer copy. So in such scenario, we will be setting up recipient. Okay, the recipient will be set in the bdf file. Okay, and using that recipient, we will be when you create the section, you will define like, this section, this particular section that I created, is it record for agent or it is record only for customer, or something like that. Okay, so So recipient configuration you can do in a section when you're creating a section, and position. Okay, so when it comes to position, say for example you are for agent copy you are not displaying this. Consider that as an example, you are not displaying this block. So you need to set up something like that. When there is no block here, there should not be space here. It has, this particular block should come here. Okay, or in other case, like if this is not displaying, it should be in the standard position. So that kind of configuration you need to define as part of positioning, is positioning in your image properties or section properties. Okay, so that's apps. Here is an example. Apps means absolute page position, and max means related to last image. So absolute page position means whatever you set when you develop, that is the absolute page position. Max means related to last image. So related to last image means based on the last image position, the current image will adjust accordingly. Okay, we'll see all those things in detail, so don't get lost here. We will be seeing everything in detail later when we do hands on. Okay, so content option. So what are the content options we have? How we are creating the content? We already seen that we have created text area. We can create text label, and logos are used for holding images. Okay, so it can be any images. Whatever image we are talking about, we'll be using logos, and using the image manager. You just add the image and then use it whenever wherever you record. Okay, so text area and text label are pretty much similar, but the difference will be like it will accept only single line of text. Say if you want to create a heading like this. Okay, for this I don't want to create a text area, rather than I'll go for a text label. Right, so if I want to create multiple lines like this, I may need to use text area. So there will not be much differences between text label and text area. But you, in place of text label, you can utilize text area as well, but I think it will reduce your performance when you have only one single line, and if you are using text area. Okay, but just a option there, you can use if it is single line, it's recommended to use text label, or you can if it is multi-line, obviously you need to use text area. Okay, moving on. So DAL, we talked about it. DAL, document automation language. It is used to write to field calculations. And one other thing, like you can write the DAL in an external files, and you can refer it. Okay, and using this call or chain function, you can refer the external files. So it ensures data processing. So you like any other programming language, you can have flow controls, like and you can assign the values. These are the statements in DAL. Some few statements like flow controls. You have if file, any other programming language where you do assignment, all those things. So these are some basic understanding of to give you a basic understanding of what is DAL and all. Okay, so we have a dedicated session for DAL, so we'll see more into it later in the course. Moving on, I think I have covered pretty much everything for today in this video, what I want to cover. So let's have a quick summary. We discussed about Documaker Studio introduction, what is Documaker Studio is all about. Just it's a multi-user form creation systems, all those things we discussed. And then we talked about the components that we are creating in Documaker Studio, and then their hierarchies, and how the image is finally created. What are the, you are creating variable fields, you are placing logos, you are setting some properties, all those things you are completing everything. I mean, all those things you are as a developer activity you are doing, and to produce an final section or a form. Okay, and then you are when then we talked about field and rules. There are predefined rules and inbuilt functions you have, and the rules can be from section level rule or field level rules, and there is job level rules as well. We'll see those things later. And we talked about DAL script. DAL script is something you can write a program in Studio. And we talked about section properties, and then the content placeholders. Content placeholder is nothing but where you place your contents, like whether it is text area, text label, logos. Okay, all those things. So all right, so I think it is full of theoretical for last couple of sessions. But don't worry, in the next video we will see about Documaker Studio installation and setup, and then on we will be having some practicals now and then. Until then, goodbye. Thank you.